I think I'm on. Um, I'll give you a little background on me. So some of you know me, some of you don't. I've been here before. I talked to Aaron this morning. I couldn't remember what I talked about before. Of course, every time I talk, it's different. I don't have the not the gab, voice of gab. I love to talk. That's why I'm in real estate, because I can sell ice to S-O-N. Okay, but was never a Christian. I was not born in a Christian home. My mom and dad didn't go to church. My grandma married a pastor at the age of 80 years old. My dad was dead set against it because why would she want to give her benefits and all this to marry a preacher? Heard him preach a couple times. That's the only time we ever went to church, was just to please my grandma that we went there. My grandma went to church every Sunday. We'd always go after church, so I wouldn't have to go to church, go to her house on Sunday afternoon. But wasn't raised in the Christian background. I know there was a God. I didn't know what he stood for. I didn't know where he went. I didn't know anything about him. I was tied up. I'm going to get back to what God did for us. God, we talked about in Sunday school this morning, walked in this earth just like we did. He was tempted with everything that he could be tempted with by Satan. And we take those temptations and sometimes we run with them because he knows exactly what we want, or he thinks we want. God has a path for every one of us in our life. I didn't believe that until he got a hold of me, because I was living the tempted life. I was raised to get a job, get out of school, get a job, get married, set a family, get the big fancy house, get the big fancy car, get all the play toys I could get, because that's what human nature has us doing. As we've seen with God walking through life, Satan offered those things to him. He'll give you the world. Now, you don't have to do anything else. I'll give it to you. But by doing that, I own you. How many of us go to work every day for that daily dollar, and we want a bigger and better paycheck so we can buy bigger and better things to impress who? God. He's not impressed with any of that. He owns it all. I think that's the hardest thing I had to come to reality is, it's not mine. Every dime I make is his. He gave it to me to use the way he wants me to use it. It's not about Bob's glorification. But stubborn me, he had to throw me off a roof. Threw me 18 foot to the ground. I totally, honestly believe there was a war going for my soul that day. Because I was working a union sheet metal job. I was making $400 a week, bring home pay in 1988. Cash. Big money. Big money. And I had the new Camaro. I had the apartment. I had the stereo. I had the booze. I had everything that we think we have to create man's world and live it. And I was living a sinful life. I was living with a girl. I wasn't married. I'd been married, divorced twice. I had 2 kids. Wasn't spending time with them because it was all about me. So God threw me off the roof, him and the devil, I think, that day. Paralyzed me. And I went for the devil for another 10 years. 10 years of alcoholism, drugism, didn't give a crapism if I livedism. I was living for everything. I get up at 8 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning, go to school at IPFW until 1 o'clock. 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I hit the bar. I was in that bar until 3 o'clock in the morning, 365 days a year. I spent $3,000 a month in the bars, drinking and living the lifestyle of the fast life, the drug life, the crazy life. Didn't care about me. Didn't spend time with my daughters, so which meant I didn't get to spend time with my grandkids down the road because my daughters were kind of alienating me because who wants their grandkids around alcoholic, and I didn't have time for them. At that time, my daughters would come to my house for the weekend. I'd put them in bed at 10 o'clock at my mom and dad's house, and I'd go to the bar and party until I got 3 o'clock in the morning, get up in the morning, and then with them again. As soon as I put them to bed, I was in the bar again. People didn't know I had kids, didn't know I'd been married, divorced. So that was the life I was living. to the point that I had drunk myself to a gallon of Jack Daniels a day on whatever else I could get a hold of. I was a functioning alcoholic and drug addict. Whatever I could get my hands on. To numb the depression because I was disabled. Who wants to date a handicap? Who wants to spend time with a handicap? All my friends alienated me because I wasn't, quote, like them anymore. So I was thrown in this other disabled world population or a different style of group of people. All my friends now have known me since I've been paralyzed. And they see the Bob that's there. And I was the same Bob back then, but it was that disability. Because none of us take that stuff for granted. And as God went through the world, he's seen the prostitutes, he's seen the tax collectors, he's seen all these people that were living the sinful life. But he also didn't let that stop him from keeping on the path that God had laid out for him. The path he had to stay on so we could be here today and know that we can get to heaven through that. If he didn't stay on his path, I wouldn't be here talking to you today, because you wouldn't be living here today. We wouldn't be in this lifestyle. We'd all be so indulged in the sin that we wouldn't be caring about anything else. And that's where I was at. I was indulged in the sin that I didn't care about anything else but myself. To the point I was going to put my car in the reservoir at Huntington, commit suicide, because I was done with it. And of course my daughter's face appears in front of me. And it made me think about her and my family, my friends. Is this fair to them? And is that where I should be? Is death what I want? And I didn't know God at that time. But I had a buddy who went to church on a regular basis and was always partying with me too every Friday and Saturday night. And so I called him up, said, what time's church is? I'll pick you up. And I go to church and I get to church and yeah, it's church. Whatever. It was emotion. I was going through the motions. Just going through the motions. As we have people, I call them pew warmers. They come to church, they go through the motions, they leave here, they go right back to their life of having their beer, doing whatever they're doing behind closed doors at their home, living the worldly life. Then we come to church on Sunday. So I did that for a while. I didn't drink in drunkenness, because the Bible says that you can drink as long as drink in drunkenness. The humor is, when do you know a handicap's drunk? When he falls out of his chair? Well, I just tripped on snow. Don't worry about it. Okay, so I then I realized I was still drinking, social drinking, because that's what I had to do with my friends, the social drink to keep them as my friends. So I quit. I went down to the altar one day and I said, done. Can't do it anymore. Take it. And you don't think that happens, but it does. I haven't touched a bottle. I haven't had booze. I haven't had drugs. I haven't had any of that in 26 years. Because of him. Now, that's just the start. Because now we got to start figuring out what we're here for and why we're here. So I got involved in the church. Started getting more involved in my personal life with God. And we have to really think about our personal walk. And we all ponder, we always question, am I on the path he wants me on? Is this for me, my benefit, my glory, or his glory? And that's a tough talk. Because we want to be happy too. God doesn't want us suffering doing things for him. Dragging myself to the ministry work, dragging myself to the programs that are offered at the church, dragging myself to be a witness. Because if you're not wholeheartedly into it, you're not going to give your best. So as I grow with God and daily grow with God, it's an every day. Every day we grow more. I hope you grow more every day. Because Jesus grew every day as a human on earth. He's seen more temptations given to him, more stuff that Satan wanted him to grab a hold of and just take a hold of, because that would get me in control of him. The bottle had control of me. The drugs had control of me. Life had control of me. until I decided to give it all to him. And I said, okay, it's yours. It's your money. Everything I own is yours. How do you want me to do with it? What you want me to do with it? My dad, at 94 years old, doesn't understand why he's still here. I know why he's still here. He hasn't accepted Christ yet. Truly accepted Christ. He knows about him. He watches my walk, but he hasn't accepted him. It's my God to keep my job, to keep my testimony positive and forward moving and not drop back and show that sin anywhere. Because when I do that, my dad may lose his walk or may question, well, he's back to being an alcoholic, or he's back to being a drug addict, or he's back to doing this. So what power does God really have? Or why would you want to worship him and follow him? He has a hard time for me putting thousands of dollars into the ministries. He has a hard time me picking up a homeless person and taking him to the hospital. He has a hard time with me. Why do you waste your time with them? And I've been told that by people in my church. Why do you waste your time with them? They're not going to change. Somebody wasted their time with me. He kept asking me to go to church with him. I kept telling him no, until finally one day I went. Now I go to church, he doesn't, because he fell back in the mechanical work world, the Harley Davidson, the drinking party world with his life, because that was easier path for him to take. And I talked to him every so often, ran to him the other day, it's why we need to get together. But we get so sidetracked sometimes, we want to get off that path because it's so easy to go over here and socialize and hang out with this group over here. My teenage kids, grandkids, and all of us are tempted to fit into a group. How do I get involved with that group? You know, through school I took candy to school to get the kids to like me in grade school, and then junior high I got into the let's party, or got into sports, started doing cross country, hoping I'd be the jock star that everybody'd want to hang out with, you know. Then the next at the high school level, it was like this wasn't working, so I got involved with the drug and alcoholic party group, and then so I could fit in with that clique. And I tell my granddaughters and my grandsons, don't take and do what everybody else is doing to fit in. As a Christian, that's the hardest thing for us to do. Stay on the outside, because people criticize us because we don't go do the drugs, we don't do the partying, we don't go here, we don't fit in their clique. You know what? I only have one person I got to answer to. There's one person I'm going to follow in his path, and he has blessed me more than I could ever imagine. He's blessed me more than I'm worth. And that's Jesus Christ. I'm going to follow him everywhere he goes. I want to lead where he wants me to go. As long as I keep my path doing where he wants to be at. And it's his money that I spend on the ministries. It's his money that he gives me to spend time with my grandkids, to do things with people, to take their friends and show them some things that where God has blessed me, to give them things I could never have. We get tied up in the world, and we want to make the next generation better. We want to spoil this generation, spoil that generation, spoil that generation. And we've lost the value, the core values of what life's about. We've got our kids are growing up with the materialistic items. They got to have the top Apple Watch. They got to have the top cell phone. And all that's doing is getting them more trouble. They want the next best, bigger, best thing. And if we talked earlier, that temptations are there for us to get those. We all grew up wanting the nice house, wanting the nice car, wanting all this, but we also went in debt to do all that. We owed somebody. We were in debt to the world for things that God didn't want us, that would provide for us if we needed what we have. God, I tell the people I work with in the food ministry stuff, God will give you everything you need. But it's what you need, not what we want. Our wants are way outload our needs. You know, so in our ministries, and I got involved with our food ministry. We started out with faith. Our congregation is about the size of yours. I met your pastor probably, a month ago at you guys' house? Went to Chris Nairn's house and met your pastor. And I walked in and we started talking about the ministries. And we have a women's shelter. We have a women's children's center. We have a food ministry. And your pastor goes, wow, you must come from a big, huge church. I said, no, I come from a faithful church, a serving church. The average income in our church is probably $30,000 to $40,000 a year. 50% of them are on probably Social Security, disability. It's not our money supporting the ministries. It's our faith that God will provide. We opened that food ministry without a dime. We just opened our doors, bought food, started serving people. We've been doing it 15 years now. I've been running the food ministry for 3, starting my 4th year this year. That was another full step that God gave me, but we serve 20,000 meals a year, 365 days a year. I have over 400 volunteers that come and give their time to serve. And here's the miraculous thing about it. I spend $198 a month for the food. How much you spend a week on your groceries? And that's just for your family. I'm feeding 50 people a night. I have not bought a meat product, one meat product in 3.5 years. But there's been a meat product served on every meal. The power of God will provide if we are faithful to Him. Huntington has 18 churches, I would say easily. Some of them sitting over $1 million in their account. $500,000 in their bank accounts. Not one of them have a ministry outside their church. We have 0 in our bank account. Sometimes our pastor gets kind of scared. You know, it'll jump up there. Well, we just did a fundraiser, raised $70,000 in a matter of 90 days. But goes out to the bills, you know, because our electric bill is $1,000 a month at food ministry. So the faith of God has let us go that direction. So, and we have to personally take that faith ourselves. I don't worry about where my money comes from. I don't worry about, I just do my job. I sell real estate. 3 years ago, my pastor come to me, and that's how I got involved taking over the ministry. I worked the ministry, but I wasn't running it. Come to me and says, we're moving our guy, Scott, up to the next level. He's going to start taking care of the ministry funds for the ministry, because we had a women's shelter. We were getting ready to open a women's children's center. We had the food ministry. So we're growing in that direction. So we need somebody to kind of keep everything in pods. So he says, I want you to think about praying about taking over the food ministry. I said, I don't have to pray about it. It's going to happen. Just, I'm here. You know, that's, the door's open. You take it. You walk through the door. Scared, maybe. How are you going to make sure you get that and can run your real estate business? Because at the same time, my boss had a stroke. Our office burnt. They moved us to another facility. They put me in charge of 9 women. I know, 9 women. That was scary enough. You know, you guys control one woman, which controls, you know. I just let them think they're bosses and I go on. But, you know, so we have that humor along with that, you know. So here he goes. I got these 2 things going on. I'm coaching basketball at the YMCA, coaching 2 teams. I'm involved on the board at the YMCA. I'm involved on Pathfinder's board. We're running the food ministry. I'm running the real estate office. And try to spend time with the grandkids and make sure they have a grandpa that's there with them. You know, I'm blessed that I've got 7 grandkids, and the 2 girls on both sides here call me on a daily basis. It's usually about time they know grandpa's done for the day, or maybe if I'm not done for the day, they realize that he has to crawl in the car and go with him when we go sell a house, and then we go eat dinner, and then we come back, we do another house, or we go do what we gotta do. I got a lady the other day ask me what my schedule is for the day. I said, whatever that phone says. She goes, what do you mean? Because I may start out with a plan, but he has a different plan. Somebody calls me about food. Somebody calls me about this. Somebody calls me to pick up food, or I got somebody calls me because they're homeless, need a place to go. Where do we go in town? What do we do? So we have to look as a ministry or churches, and you guys need to start looking at, or maybe you are looking at. I don't know what ministries you guys have going on, but we are here, as the Bible says, to take care of the widow, the homeless, the low income, the people in need. If you're blessed, you should be blessing. If you have everything over your hoof, over your head, and you have food in your refrigerator, you have everything you need, and you're still buying more wants that you don't need, think about what you're doing for ministries and what you're doing for your congregation and what you're doing. I'm not saying we need to have a bank account here, because if you've got a bank account sitting there and you're not doing ministry work, then what rainy day are you saving it for? I got a buddy of mine who's got $500,000, got almost $750,000 in his trust fund put away for him when he retires. But he does not do anything else with that money. He squeaks when he opens his wallet. He doesn't spend it on anything. It's put away, it goes here, it goes, and that's great. I'm the opposite. My bank account's at zero because I spend it too fast, but it's not mine, it's his. I've given, the other day I picked up $160 worth of cards at $16 a piece to hand to somebody to go do laundry. Because I have homeless walk into my facility that can't get their laundry done, or they're jobless and they need laundry because they're looking for a job. I'm not going to hire a guy that walks in my facility dirty and smelling. So if they're already looking for a job area. So we have to look at those across the board. How do we help those people? How do we get those needs? I get people to come to my ministry and they're like, what do you worry about feeding these people? They're down here every night. You're not getting them to move out the doors. They're coming here every night. I got some that are regulars, been there, got about 25 of about 15 of the regulars that come in every night. Have been since we opened the doors. But they're coming in for fellowship. Maybe that one meal is one thing they can put that money on their utility bill, their electric bill, their rent. That's their budget's so tight. It's not mine to question why they're there. It's not me to judge them why they're there. We also go through life judging everybody. I'm being judged 24/7 because I'm a handicap. That's the way I feel. People are like, wow, but he's not going to be able to do that. He's in a wheelchair. He can't do this because he's in a chair. I don't want to date him. He's going to be a problem. What if he has a medical issue and I can't take care of it? That's how I feel. And I'm sure that persona comes across the board to some people. Because I wasn't involved in the disabled world until I became disabled. We don't worry about the problem until it affects us. I'm not homeless, so why should I worry about him? I'm not hungry, so why should I worry about him? I'm not disabled, so why should I worry about him? We have to start thinking that, because we never know what shoes we're going to throw in those shoes, do we? We don't know when that's going to hit our life and how it's going to affect the person that we're working with, because all of a sudden we're shunning them because he's disabled. I don't want to be with him. I don't want to see him in public with him. Or the other fact is we try to fit in so bad that our gay, homosexual relationships are going to that point where we're trying to fit in because girls feel more comfortable around girls. Because how many of you, when you're junior high and a high school age, went to a dance at school? And you see the boys against the wall, the girls against the wall, and because they're socially not sure how to react with each other. But I got your girls get together talking, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, we're going to start this relationship because it's easy for me to talk to them. But in the Bible, it's not right. And they do it for attention sometimes too, because they're not getting attention at home. They're wanting to fit in. It's the best way for me to go this direction. We get involved in drugs and alcohol because of the attention. The home life of some of these kids I'm dealing with, I've got kids coming down to the ministry that are coming down and their home life isn't a home life. Why? Because mom and dad are both working, and when they're not working, they're partying, they're drugging, alcoholing, or they're maybe not even working because they've been raised on the low income Social Security disability because how I was raised, so that's how I'm going to lifestyle to live. So we have to, as believers, put our faith and let God start working with us to help those people out. I've been blessed to have people around me that just start opening their eyes up and start becoming givers. And as you walk the path, things change. Me and Chris and Aaron have become real good friends over the years. I was with Chris and Aaron on vacation this summer. And Chris got into buying bicycles. And him and his boys kind of buying bikes, BMX bikes, fixing them up and keeping some, reselling some. And I asked him what he's doing with all the bikes that he doesn't use. That aren't so show quality that he's doing with or whatever. He says, well, I don't really have anything to do with them. I said, that's kind of crazy. Because I know a lot of people who probably could use a bike and get back and forth to work. Or kids that don't have bicycles. That's all our conversation was over vacation. And I just kind of left it at that. Chris calls me up a month later. Hey, I said, what? He goes, I got 6 bikes for you. Last week, he turned around and called me again, text me. Hey, I got a chance to buy 5 bikes. They're $25 for all 5. What do you think? All I know, I got 6 more bikes. But that ministry starts out because 2 people talking about something. And now I'm watching the group that comes in. My kids come down to the food ministry. Parents or guys who need a job, get a job, need a bike, need transportation, and give them a bike and let them, we're going to start handing those out little by little. Because of Chris is blessing me with the bikes, me blessing them, and we're just kind of feed that population. And everybody's going, why would you want to give them a bike? They're just going to sell it. Or they're going to get it stolen or whatever. It's not my problem. God give us abundance. We feed the multitudes with it. He gives me the food. I feed the multitudes with it. I watch people walk up in our food ministry, take food and throw it in the trash. I don't lose sleep over it. As I just said, I spend $190. I feed 20,000 people a year. $190 a month. You take that out, that's $200 a month, less than about $3,000, okay? And I feed 20,000 people. Because the food coming in the door was going in the trash to start with. It's expired stuff that's going that the hospital can't use. It's banquets from dinners. It's weddings from dinners. And I'm feeding them. It's one stopping point before it goes to the trash. As our churches look at each other, we have to decide, are we going to be a mission-founded church? Are we going to help serve people outside the church? Or are we going to keep it to ourselves? I think that's where we run into the issue is. And everybody has their opinion. Everybody has their idea of how we should spend the money. And we don't ever come to an agreement. Let God come to that agreement for you. Let God make that decision on how you should spend it. Because you open those doors, you start blessing other people. The congregation may not grow, but God's word is growing, and God planting that seed and getting those people fed and getting them seeing there's another light at the end of the tunnel if they choose this path. If they choose to stay on this path, ask them how it's working for them. If you keep doing the same thing over and over and over, you're going to get the same results. The problem is getting them to make those changes. I had to make the change from being poor, pitiful Bob, disabled, in a chair, nobody cares about me, to quit worrying about what everybody else thought about me and start thinking where God wants me to go and start focusing the direction He wants me to go. And so now I have a food ministry going on that I work at. Our church has a women's shelter for women that are homeless, not with addictions. We have a women's children's center we just opened up in Veterans Day weekend. We just bought another house for $20,000 that we're going to start remodeling for a men's shelter. And God has opened all those doors. The first house we bought for the women's shelter, we bought it for $50 at a sheriff's sale. And we had missionary teams come in. They fixed it all up. They brought the supplies in, and we opened a house. But we took the initiative to say we're doing it. I've been talking to another pastor in town who's trying to get ministry started, and we went to a homeless meeting the other day, and this meeting was last week. The homeless population, low income, freezing outside right now. And the group says, well, let's have another meeting in June. We'll get this on the table and we'll start talking about it some more. As a church body, I told her the other day, I was telling this pastor, I just ran to the grocery store. I said, how'd you like that meeting? Oh, I just don't know what's going on. I said, we're going to talk about it. We're not going to take faith and believe that God will help us with it. I said, you as a church need to decide you're going to do this ministry and you step on it. And you stop. You just go. You take what God's told you to do and you do it. And you work with the city, whatever you got to do to get those steps. Don't go asking for grant money. Don't go to this facility, make sure they all get on board and they all agree with you doing this program. Because I'm going to tell you, when we first started our food ministry, I could not get any church churches, people to come work there. Even my own congregation. Well, how's it going to benefit me? Or how's it going to benefit our church? It's not about benefiting you. It's not about benefiting your church. It's about doing what God wants to do. Take care of people. Love each other. Show them love, care. Give them what they need. Don't able them to stay that way. As it says in the Bible, teach them to fish, don't feed them. Now, those who do not work shouldn't eat. Those who don't work don't get eat. So we got to teach them, but we have to reteach them. We have to show them, though. We have to live the same life. Can't think I'm above them. I can't think I'm below them. I got to walk with them. Okay. I've watched I'm going to give you the story of a gentleman I work with. Okay. I had a homeless guy, a vet. We used to walk by our ministry on a regular basis for a long time, every night. Every evening, supper time, you see him go by. And he did that for about 3 months, 3 to 4 months. One day he walked in and sat down at the first table. Sit down, put his head down at the table, didn't look up. Got him a cup of coffee. Walked by me, okay, yeah. All I got him was, yeah. Everything okay? Yeah. So all I got out of him for about 6 months. One day he walks in my office, walks in there to ministry in the afternoon. Because I always go down on Sundays. I used to leave the door unlocked because it was just kind of fun if you want to come in and talk or whatever. He'd come in all lit up. Hey, Bob, my name's Nick. Oh, just like we're best friends. I hadn't heard a word out of him for 6 months. He said, oh, yeah. So I got talking to him. And as progression going on, he started coming in every Sunday, come down about 1 o'clock when I got to church. He'd hang out with me, help me put dishes away, do whatever I wanted to do. Then he'd leave at 4 o'clock. We served at 5. He'd leave at 4 o'clock, walk back in at 5 o'clock, sit down and eat. He'd eat and he'd leave. Strange. But he also, after I got to know him more, he was walking down the street one day down the street in downtown. I was at Party Shop where I go get a cappuccino once in a while. I say, Nick, you want a cup of coffee? Sure. Walks in, head down, walks up, gets his cup of coffee, turns around and walks out the door. Why? Disrespect of himself. This man served in the Vietnam War for us. Sleeping in a junkyard for 8 years, summer, winter, and fall. Getting up in the morning, going to a restaurant, meeting his boss, crawl the truck, go work out putting fences on fence posts in the ground, come back to town, they drop him off, he'd go to the bar, drink, go crawl in the car, pass out. Get up in the morning, hopefully, not froze to death, not dead, and start over. So, built that relationship with him, found him as a vet, took him from the VA, got him to the VA, got him a check coming in about $1,500 a month. Got him into government subsidized housing, costing $600 a month, including his utilities. Still stayed an alcoholic. Never left being an alcoholic. This last year, started getting a little sick. I kept in contact with him quite a bit. He'd come down one day and talk to me about getting some food. And I said, Nick, you got money, you got to figure out how to budget, quit spending all drinking. I said, you want me to do a budget for you? I can help you out. He goes, okay. How we do that? I said, give me your credit card. Give me your debit card, because the money went directly to a debit card. What do you mean? I said, you give me your card, and I'll give you an allowance. You'll have so much money to spend a week. Well, how much is that going to be? I said, I'm thinking $200. Well, that's not enough. Well, no, it's not enough, because I know that you can spend $200 in the bar on Monday. So I didn't get his debit card, but anyways, he stayed. He had a place to stay, was warm, and got him off the streets a little bit. But so as our progression goes along, I'm taking him to the VA every 6 months. And I took him to the VA back in May last year, and he was not feeling all that well, and they run some tests. I took him to, had emergency take him to the hospital, and the hospital did some tests, and long story short, about middle of June, we were getting not any diagnosis for anybody because nobody wanted to tell us. But he was in stage 4 cancer. So I picked Nick up every day, took him down to the bar so he could have his dinner, have breakfast with the guys. He wasn't drinking a whole lot, but he was taking his medication and so forth. But they were getting set up for hospice on July 2nd on a Friday. And I took him, so he called me and said, the hospice is going to come at 1 o'clock. I said, okay, good. I said, so I left it down on Thursday. And so Friday morning, I get a phone call from Nick about 9. Hey, are you going to come get me? I go, what? He goes, well, I want to go down and get my breakfast. I said, okay. So I took him down and got his breakfast. And I said, I got to get my hair cut at 11:30. I'll pick you up at about 11:30, 12 o'clock. I get down to get my hair cut, and Nick's sitting on the corner down. My barbershop's here, and on this corner, the food is this way, the bar's that way. He's sitting on the park bench there, waiting on me. Had a hard time getting up. And I thought, well, he's had a few, maybe taking medication. He might have been drinking. I don't know. I didn't question him. He goes to my truck, and he gets to my floor, the truck seat in my truck, and he sits on the seat, on the floor by the seat. He didn't get in the truck. He just kind of dropped. Now, this is a 70-year-old man. Probably weighed 90 pounds, soaking wet. I had to pick him up and put him in my car seat. That's how weak he was and how bad he was. And he had sunglasses on, a hat on. He's all that on the way to my house. And I thought, well, he's fine. And then all of a sudden he got quiet. And I figured he passed out. No. The man died in my car. And it's kind of crazy because he asked me if I was going to be with him through the whole process. I didn't realize I'm going to be with him through the whole process. From that point, I picked him up and then I called the emergency people to come get him and asked if I got him out of the car. I said no. So they come over, they take care of him, put him on the ground, start doing CPR, even trying to get him to come back to life. And he's gone. I already did that. But the hospice shows up at this time because they're supposed to come meet with him. And of course, then they find out I'm the only person he has down as contact. So I have to make the decision to stop working on him or not. I said stop. But we don't know how we affect lives. So I thought that was in the next problem. He's gone. He's done. Everything's over. I get a call from the coroner's office the next day. His wife, who I've never talked to, he has been with for 15 years, all of a sudden is at the doorstep. I need a death certificate now. Because she wanted to go get what little bit of money he had. And she had to go to his house and get all his junk. Because there's momentums there. None of the kids ever talked to him in 15 years. I've known the man. His house, I just cleaned his house out because he had bed bugs. Had to take everything out of the house and start all over with him, but all new furniture, and I put all that in there. She goes, well, I don't care. Do what they want with it. So, here's how stuff goes full circle. Okay, Christmas this year, my office people are deciding what they want to do for Christmas with each other, what we're going to buy, how much we're going to allow to spend on each other as a white elephant gift, whatever. And one of my other agents said, can we just forget about that? Can we donate that to a family? And she had a family in mind. And I said, yeah, I got no problem. All of us agreed that. And I said, here, I was going on vacation. Matter of fact, this was Chris there. And I said, I'm going on vacation. I'm going to leave you a blank check. I said, whatever you girls, 9 girls make, I'll match. I figured $20 for each one of them, $180. Lo and behold, my girls raised $400 between the two of them. So Jane calls me up and says, Bob, we got $400 between the 9 of us. I said, what, you still want? I said, I told you I'd match it. So we wrote a check. I wrote a check for $100. Jane went shopping for the grandma who's raising 3 grandkids. One's disabled, a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old, and a drug-addicted uncle, an alcoholic uncle, to stay in there as well. They ended up buying the gifts, and it was Nick's ex-wife, his grandkids. So it went full circle for me. So we don't know how lives were affected. We have women that come in our shelter, the winter shelter, pregnant, goes through our shelter, gets in the shelter, she gets ready to have her child, she has to leave, we don't have kids at that time, she leaves. Right now she is raising, she's got her 5 kids back, she's got her own job, she's on the right path. Those were the 6 people that came to stay in our winter shelter. One of those were saved in that process. Okay, so what I'm getting at, shut off here because he's saying guest speaker. Bob, let me shut up. He stand up, so like it's time to get out of here. But what I'm getting at is we have to decide what legacy we want to leave. Man, I don't want to leave a Bob Burnsworth legacy. I want to leave a Christ legacy. I want them to know I did it for glory of God, not for me. When I loan kids money at the food ministry, I'll get you paid back. I said, you don't have to worry about paying me back. Because if you don't, you got to answer to him. It's not mine, it's his. I don't have to give. He has to give. Okay? Well, I want to thank you for your time. And if you want to talk to people about ministry work or want to do whatever, let me know. And if you don't have a ministry you're working with, you want to help out, we're always looking for volunteers. You can talk to Chris and Aaron, they can come down and help on those nights. If you guys want to look at a congregation and say, where do we, as a whole, who do we want to help? Do we want to get involved with the kids and go to the school system and find out what there's kids that are in need of food over the weekend? Maybe do a backpack program. You said food home for the weekend. I got church talked to a lady doing that in Marion. There's all kinds of ministry work out there that can be handled that you don't, I don't want to say I love it, but there's a lot of churches that will give you money, but don't want to dirty their hands. And there's churches out there that want to dirty their hands and want to get involved. And I think finding out getting involved spiritually will help you immensely. Because I work at the ministry probably 15 days a night. I'm working at that food ministry, cooking or something another month. Susan covers about 10 of them. She works every Tuesday. But now we have about every church in town is involved in our ministry one way or the other. Because it took one person from the church coming there, seeing what happens, go back and spread the word, and then they come down and start helping, and then we start getting people coming in, worrying about this family, that family, start taking care of them individually, and that kind of stuff. So don't be afraid to plant the seed and do what God wants you to do with your money and start running your program, even on your own. I just decided I was going to start doing laundry ministry at our church, and I started buying these cards, $15 cards, and give them 4 pods, and then go do the laundry for a month. We got one church in town that gives $20 gas cards out, one a month, one a year. You can get one a year. Put that fund back. So I'm sure the pastors had people stop by, I need gas money, blah, 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 this. What I worry about is I want to make sure they use it for that. And I really should have to worry about that, but I do. So I make sure that card's strictly for that. They can't go take it and give it. But that don't mean I won't sell the card, my $15 card, for $5 or $10 to go buy a pack of cigarettes. I can't stop that. My intention is to do what I think is right with it. What they do with it's their business. They got to answer to God about it, not me. Okay? Just remember that. You do what God tells you to do. Let them worry about their walk with God if they don't do what they're supposed to do with what you give them. I think that's the easiest way to look at it. Because they got to answer to God, not me. They take my $100 or my $50 and go do something stupid with it, God's going to say, well, remember when Bob tried to help you out and you took that money and bought booze or didn't buy the shoes or get the medicine for your kid that you said you were going to do with it? You lied to him. That's why you're not coming in this pearly gate door. Okay? All right. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. I wasn't sure. I talked to kids on the way. What do you think I should talk about? And I just let God run with it. Our sermon this morning was what God walked through, what we walked through, the temptations that we have, and how we have to. God went through the same temptations, and how do we make those choices to stay with those temptations? What would Jesus do in those shoes? What would he want you to do in those shoes? Okay? So, we're going to have a song and an invitation. If you want to come up here, you may, and we'll go from there.